With all this nonsense in the news lately about regulating ghost guns, I figured I would do a follow-up today on my Polymer 80 PFC9. First things first though, for the friendly YouTube staff doing a manual review on this video, not all Polymer 80 guns are ghost guns. Try and keep that in mind when deciding whether or not this video is acceptable content. While the PFC9 is made by Polymer 80, it's not an 80% or build-at-home firearm. That would be the PF940C. The two guns are similar, but they're not the same. I opted for the PFC9 to avoid any future headaches like the ones that people are going through right now. The PFC9 is a fully finished firearm that was built and serialized by Polymer 80. It was shipped off to a gun store where I then had to fill out a background check before I could actually take it home. Essentially, that means that this Polymer 80 that I have is no different than any other gun in my local gun store. Essentially, you could consider it a Glock clone. Perhaps the original Glock clone. The PFC9 basically is a Glock 19. Mostly it takes Gen 3 Glock parts, and it also uses the same mags that every other Glock in the world uses. If there's some sort of upgrade that you want to do to the Polymer 80, whether it's a mag release or a new trigger or whatever the case may be, they're all Gen 3 parts, so anything that's out there that's listed as Gen 3 Glock is going to work with this gun. Aside from maybe the 1911, no other firearm has the aftermarket support that the Glock has. You know what though? The 1911's been in production for over 100 years, so I guess realistically they do deserve that top spot for aftermarket support. Of course, there are two things that you're going to find not compatible between the Polymer 80 and your standard Glock. One is going to be magwells and the other is going to be holsters. Now the grip shape itself on this Polymer 80, a little bit different than a Glock 19, which means that if you want to put a magwell on your gun, you're going to have to find something specifically labeled as being for the Polymer 80. Here I've got the Steel City Arsenal magwell on mine, and I'll tell you what, I friggin' love it. I mean, look, it is no Floyd's custom magwell, but it's a close second. So the other thing that is not compatible is going to be holsters. Again, the internals on these guns, yeah, they may be Glocks on the inside, but on the outside, they're definitely different. Make sure that you find something that is labeled as specifically for the Polymer 80. Otherwise, the gun's not going to fit. And what it boils down to is frame shape. Specifically, it's going to be the trigger guard. See, Polymer 80 had the forward vision that it takes to do cool shit, like add a sick-ass double undercut to their trigger guard. Now, the reason they did that is because they look at the aftermarket upgrades that people are doing to their Glocks, and they try to incorporate as much of that into their design as they possibly could. Another note about the frame of this Polymer 80 is that it uses the 18-degree grip angle instead of the Glock 22-degree grip angle. My two favorite debates in the gun world are what is the best concealed carry caliber and Glock grip angle versus the human wrist. Look, if the Glock grip works for you, that's awesome. By all means, use a Glock. There's no shame in it. On the other hand, when you draw and aim with a Glock, if you're constantly feeling like you need to make some adjustments, well, then there's a strong possibility you may need something with a grip angle that is closer to the natural grip angle of the human wrist. Guns like the Polymer 80, the Smith & Wesson M&P, the 1911, they all use the same roughly 18-degree grip angle. There are a lot of options out there that use that particular grip, but if you're looking for something that is like a Glock, but isn't a Glock, the Polymer 80 is probably for you. I really haven't done much, if any, upgrades to this gun. Of course, I have put the fiber optic front sight on there and the Steel City Arsenal magwell. That's pretty much all. It feels really good like this. It's basic, it's simple, it's devoid of complications. Point and shoot. I don't know, for this gun, for right now, it just works. It's been nearly a year since I bought the PFC9. Of course, with COVID pricing on ammo, I haven't put as many rounds through it as I would have liked to in the last year. That being said, My rough estimate is somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,500 rounds through this gun. At a certain point, I just stopped counting and kept shooting. Keeping some sort of log is ridiculous. And I'll let you in on a little secret. A lot of people inflate their shooting numbers to make themselves look like they've tested the gun more than they really have. Basically, I've shot the shit out of this gun. We'll just leave it at that. So far, so good. I haven't encountered any actual issues with it. And I have used OEM Glock mags. I've used the mags that came with it, the Polymer 80 branded mags. I've also used the Magpul mags. So far, so good. It's ran really smooth the entire time. Every time I take it out, no hiccups. Occasionally, the slide will not lock back after the last round, which is a little bit of an annoyance, but that's seriously the only thing that I've found, and it's so sporadic and occasional, it's not even really a huge deal. Over the entire time that I've owned this gun, it may have happened a half dozen times. My best guess is that it's grip related, and occasionally my thumb is pressing down on the slide release at just the right time, which is making the slide not lock back. That's just something I need to be conscious of and work on as far as my grip while shooting the Polymer 80. For now, though, I really can't complain about how this gun functions. I've never had any of the reliability issues that most people talk about when they talk about the Polymer 80. I feel like that has to do with this not being an 80% gun. Don't get me wrong, I love projects like that. But from what I've noticed, the vast majority of complaints that I've seen had to do with a gun that was finished at home, not by the factory. Now, I'm not saying that all you guys out there that are having issues with your home builds somewhere along the line screwed up. What I'm saying is, why is it that almost every shitty comment or bad review on a Polymer 80 is based around an 80% home build? I'm sure somewhere out there, there's some negative stuff about the PFC9 that Polymer 80 makes, but you aren't going to find it here. Believe me, if something about this gun could be complained about, I'm the guy. So far, though, this thing's been top notch. The fact is, you can buy these guns for what, like $100 under the price of a Glock 19? Yeah, price-wise, it's pretty close. But the purpose of this gun isn't to save money over buying a Glock. No, the purpose of the PFC9 is to have a gun that is built like and functions like a Glock without it being a Glock. Maybe that's because you don't like the Glock grip angle, or maybe the texture. Maybe you don't like the look of the Glock, or the fact that, everybody in the world already has one and you want something just a little different. There are countless clones out there these days that are using Glock Gen 3 parts, but they're doing their own little spin on the frame design. Cost and quality on these things can vary quite a bit, but my money is on the original, the Polymer 80. Regardless whether you buy it or build it, rest assured the Polymer 80 is going to be a great choice. It's going to open the door to a whole world of reasonably priced upgrades and customizations. And because the Polymer 80 is as popular as it is, you aren't going to struggle looking for holster options either. Any reputable holster manufacturer is going to have an option for a Polymer 80. Now, if I had to have one critique of this gun, it would have to be the shape of the grip. It's well known that my preferred daily carry is my Floyd's Custom M&P. The size, shape, and texture of the grip on the M&P are literally the best fit that I've been able to find for my hands. The Polymer 80, it's not horrible, but compared to the M&P, it's very blocky up here in the front. Now, I wish they had designed this thing with a slightly more rounded front end here, but that's a personal preference thing. Obviously, it's not a huge deal. Otherwise, I would have sold this gun already and moved on to something else. But that's it. That's my one critique of the gun. Everything else I like. I really just wanted to do this video today to remind people that not all Polymer 80s are 80% guns. And if you are buying the PFC9, which is the factory built version, my personal experience with it has been really good. To be honest, owning this gun has given me an entirely different perspective on the whole Glock platform. It may not be an M&P, but the PFC9 has earned its spot in my carry rotation. All right, that's it for today. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll be back soon.